Speaking from my lifelong experience as a filthy Yank, when Americans hear the word pantomime, we tend to think of guys in white and black makeup pretending to be trapped inside an invisible box. But British pantomimes, or pantos, are a long-running holiday tradition that takes fairy tales and great works of classic literature and muddles them together with physical comedy and traditions out of the Commedia dell'arte, as well as whatever characters or music is popular at the moment. Or as Craig Ferguson said in his memoir, think Mamma Mia featuring the Three Stooges, but with everyone's back catalog, not just ABBA's. Born in 1913 in Hillbrow, Johannesburg, South Africa, Solomon Joel Cohen's parents were music hall performers. He would join them on stage as a boy, but admitted that he never really considered it as a career until much later. He would claim later in his life that his young adulthood had included work as a diamond cutter, a dance tutor, and a boxer, but the only profession we can confirm for a fact that he had was hairdresser. His first wife's father purchased a salon for Solomon, but the near 35-year-old only ran the salon for a year before announcing that he had decided he was going to be an actor. He joined the Johannesburg Repertory Players and started picking up on-camera work with the South African Broadcasting Corporation. The beginning of World War II saw Solomon, now working under the name Sidney James, redirecting his acting work to serving as a lieutenant in an entertainment unit of the South African Army. Fresh out of the Army with a service gratuity, James made the move to the UK with his second wife. They arrived on the 25th of December, 1946, and James quickly picked up work with British Repertory Theatre. A handful of smaller roles in early British movies eventually led to his breakout role in 1951's The Lavender Hill Mob, in which he played alongside Alec Guinness and Stanley Halloway. That appearance translated into a non-stop run in the UK film, radio, and television industries for most of the 1950s that included roles in Charlie Chaplin's A King in New York, an episode of The Adventures of Robin Hood, and Hammer's Quatermass 2. He gained a reputation for consistency and dependability, and was known by the nickname One Take James. But James's longest-lasting role at the time was in Hancock's Half Hour. James played a fictionalized criminal with his own name, who was frequently running small-scale cons on the series' main character.
Don't tell me I sold you the wrong ticket. Yes. Fancy me doing a thing like that.
I know, I was amazed. Yeah.
Well, you see, that's the trouble when you're working two queues, isn't it?
Yes.
I don't know. I just don't know what to say.
No. Well, how about, here's your money back and 5 quid for your tumble?
No, that wouldn't sound right coming from me, would it?
The show started on the radio, and when it later made the jump to television, James was the only member of the radio cast to be brought along with star Tony Hancock. The show continued on television for 6 seasons before Hancock called it quits, and James, attempting to avoid being typecast, kept playing off of his lovable rogue image, but refused roles that had anything to do with crime. In 1960, James joined the ensemble of the Carry On franchise, then on its 4th film. He stepped in as a lead in the series after the previous choice for the lead, Ted Ray, had been dropped following contract negotiations. He would portray multiple characters throughout the series, but almost all of them were variations on the lovable Cockney rogue he had already perfected on the radio and television. Starting with 1960's Carry On Constable, he would play large roles in 19 Carry On movies, receiving top billing in 17 of them. His trademark raucous laughter earned him the title the dirtiest laugh in showbiz. In 1967, Sid James suffered a heart attack while working on the TV series George and the Dragon. It left him briefly debilitated, but it didn't stop him from appearing on camera, as he would take a role in the same year in Carry On Doctor, although the role mostly showed him lying in a hospital bed. The close call caused James to prioritize his health, and he gave up smoking cigarettes, lost weight, and began limiting his alcohol intake. In addition to continuing his work with Carry On, he would star in the situation comedies Two and Clover and Bless This House, and would also bring Carry On to the BBC in the sketch series Carry On Laughing. In 1976, James suffered another heart attack, this time in the middle of a stage performance of The Mating Season at the Sunderland Empire. Initially, his co-star mistook James's attack for a practical joke, but when he failed to respond to her attempt to improv around his lack of response to her lines, she called for help from the wings. James was taken to the Sunderland Royal Hospital, where he was declared dead on arrival. In the years since his passing, James has had 5 tribute shows on the BBC and was the subject of the 1998 play by Terry Johnson, Cleo, Camping, Emmanuel, and Dick, about James's 3-year-long love affair with his Carry On co-star, Barbara Windsor. The play would be adapted for television later under the title Cor Blimey.
How about a little something for Christmas, then?
That's the best offer I've had today.
That's my only means of support.
Oh, well, you won't need that one, will you? I'm a nasty bit of work, aren't I?
Debuting in 1958, Carry On Sergeant was intended as a one-off comedy about recruits performing national service. The low-budget feature became a smash success, which demanded a follow-up. Rather than return to the same characters, the producers brought back much of the ensemble as new characters in a new setting for Carry On Nurse. That, too, would prove successful, and with the next 2 installments, Carry On Teacher and Carry On Constable, a franchise was created. The initial movies are fairly straightforward film comedies with your standard stock characters and plots, but as the series continued, it would become more and more dependent on bawdy music hall-style humor and broad characters playing parodies of popular film genres. The initial franchise would run through 1978, with its last entry being Carry On Emmanuel. One more comeback film, 1992's Carry On Columbus, would be added to the franchise, but did not lead to any further productions. 1969 saw production on the series Carry On Up the Jungle, intended as a parody of Hammer Film's Cave Girl movies and the Tarzan books and films. It united members of the regular Carry On crew, including Sidney James, with actor Frankie Howerd, who had already had a long, successful run on the BBC, as well as starring on stage in A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. I point out this particular entry in the franchise not because it's remembered as one of their greatest, but because it coincides with 1969's Carry On Christmas, a special that aired on the BBC and that features the exact same cast as the then-in-production Up the Jungle. The show is a broad slapstick comedy, taking its cues from the traditions of Christmas pantomime, combining the story of Ebenezer Scrooge with other popular characters, including Dr. Frankenstein and Dracula, and also taking time out from anything resembling a story to pause for slapstick sketches. The script was from Carry On writing alum Talbot Rothwell, a former police officer who had gotten started writing and performing comedy while a prisoner of war in a German prison camp, in part to help cover the sounds of his fellow prisoners digging escape tunnels. He had been a part of the Carry On writing team since 1963's Carry On Cabby, which was originally written as a standalone film before it caught the attention of Carry On's producers and was purchased for the franchise. Directing Carry On Christmas was Ronnie Baxter, not to be confused with the English professional darts player of the same name. This Ronnie Baxter was, at the time, fresh on the comedy television scene, but he would continue to produce and direct multiple comedy programs for British television until 1989's No Strings. The Christmas special was filmed in front of a live studio audience, and that allowed guest star Frankie Howerd to indulge one of his own comedy trademarks that also happened to reflect a pantomime tradition, improvising asides directly to the camera and the audience. The show was a phenomenon. It was seen by 8.1 million viewers and became 1969's most watched Christmas program in the UK. The Carry On crew would return for 3 more Christmas specials in the following 3 years, and after the end of Carry On Laughing, Barbara Windsor and Kenneth Williams would host a compilation show in 1983 called Carry On Laughing's Christmas Classics.
Now, perhaps I can have a little piece.
Well, I do.
Who are you?
I am the spirit of Christmas present.
Get away.
Hello, boys. Have a good night's rest. I missed you.
I was hoping I'd get to use that clip sometime in this season. Sidney James's Ebenezer Scrooge is a broad comedy version of the character, wicked, horrible, and purposefully naughty. Unlike a lot of the Scrooges we've seen in the countdown, he enjoys his life. Perhaps a little too much and in the wrong ways, but he does enjoy it. He's a Scrooge who is so purposefully mean and selfish that he wraps around and becomes entertaining in his meanness because it's just so cartoonishly huge that it lacks the gut punch of Scrooge's most grasping greed. Or at least it did before the modern era and its billionaires. Charles Hawtrey shows up as Jacob Marley, but doesn't bring any desperate spirits with him. We don't really know where this Scrooge eats, because he's too busy hiding coins in his chamber pot, so no points for the tavern or the home kitchen. Of course, there's no hungry children clutching at Christmas presents robes. It's hard to get a decent, entertaining double entendre out of that. And there's no grave for James's Scrooge to fall into, just the embraces of Frankie Howerd in drag. So that's a point for not falling into the grave. And once more, we have a rare no point for either side of the Cratchit question, because this Scrooge winds up grabbed by the police before he can get far on making amends. But it's not really about being the most faithful A Christmas Carol. It's about naughty jokes, middle-aged men in schoolgirl dresses, Barbara Windsor cackling, and everyone having a grand old time. So tell me, what are your thoughts on Sidney James as the naughtiest Scrooge in town? Drop down into the comments below and let me know while you are there. There is, I don't know if you've ever noticed, or if anybody's ever told you, a like button. And there's also a subscribe button if you have not hit that already. You can subscribe and then you will receive notifications every time a new video goes live. I know, that is wild. There's also a share button where if you have a friend who really, really loves British comedy, or just comedy in general, or Charles Dickens, or people who get the story of Dickens purposefully wrong so that they can sneak in Frankenstein and Dracula, you can share this video with them, because after all, sharing is caring. Until next time, I am Glenn Williams, the film optimist, reminding you to watch like it means something. Let me just tell you, I've been wearing this robe for this entire countdown now, and it is wonderful. I had no clue what I was missing out on. You know, one of these days I want to do a good old-fashioned Bing Crosby style YouTube special where there's a whole storyline about, oh no, it's snowing, nobody's going to be able to get to my Christmas party, and all of the famous YouTubers show up and we sing songs together one by one. And then there's the ghost of David Bowie who appears to sing The Little Drummer Boy. Ah, dreams.